All right, and I know. Okay, so the first question, this is something I always say I'm not going to talk about. Let me just tell you why I don't want to talk about it, and I get questions about this constantly, and that is the creation debate. And I know every time it's brought up, I just say I'm not going to talk about it. I don't want to get involved in this debate. I have no need to get involved in this debate. I have no desire to get involved in this debate. And that is people asking about the days of creation. What is your understanding of the days of creation? What is the Lutheran understanding of the days of creation? And all of this kind of stuff. So the specific question that I was asked is, what is the AALC's official position on the days of creation? Now, I will tell you what the AALC's official position on Scripture is, which is an inerrant text, infallible text. There is no official AALC position on the days of creation or the age of the earth. The Lutheran Church Missouri Synod does have a kind of official position on the days of creation, which is included in the brief statement. However, the LCMS has never made any kind of direct statement about things like the age of the earth, even though I think people often assume that that is the case, that there is an official position about the age of the earth, but there in fact is not. So when I'm asked this question, I always tell people, I just don't want to talk about it. And then people come to weird conclusions when I say that. They say, that I'm, a theistic evolutionist and I'm just hiding my views and not talking about it because I don't want to admit what I believe. And I'm not a theistic evolutionist, first of all. I'm just to get that out there, I'm not. But let me just kind of get this out there. I don't have a particularly strong stance on the issue. I think that the debate is more heated than it needs to be. I understand why it is heated and why it's something that a lot of people are passionate about. When I look at the early American Lutherans, which is what a lot of my, our publishing house puts out all the early American Lutherans. So I've done a lot of reading in those areas. From both the Synodical Conference tradition and the rest of the Confessional Lutheran tradition outside of the Synodical Conference. The AALC, by the way, does not come directly from the Synodical Conference. So we have a different heritage and history than the Missouri Synod does. Okay, so what does that mean? Well, within the Synodical Conference, you have C.F.W. Walther, Francis Pieper being the major names. Adolf Heinecke would be the major Wisconsin Synod theologian. Those particular thinkers argued for a literal understanding of a 6-day creation, that the world was created in 6 days, and that means 6 24-hour days as we understand days today. So that's the perspective of Francis Pieper, C.F.W. Walther, and that shows up in the brief statement, and so that becomes kind of the default position of the Synodical Conference. And it really is, 19th century when people are talking about these things, because that's the rise of Darwinism, and that's the beginnings of fields like geology, and people are really talking about this issue in a way that they really hadn't even considered or discussed too much before. So all Christians have to wrestle with this issue. Now, outside of the Synodical Conference, you have confessional Lutherans, and I'm saying confessional. These aren't people who are, part of, Samuel Schmucker's kind of American modernized Lutheranism. These aren't people who are, following Ritual or Schleiermacher or something either. These are confessional Lutherans. We're talking about people like Revere Franklin Widener and Henry Eyster Jacobs, Charles Kraut. There are many people outside of the Synodical Conference who are confessional Lutherans who hold to a very strong stance on the inerrancy of Scripture, a very strong stance on the historicity of the Old Testament, that Moses wrote the Torah, that Jesus literally physically rose from the dead, would be considered a very conservative stance on Scripture. And these individuals did not necessarily believe that creation was in 6 literal 24-hour days. And I don't think that means these individuals are not confessional or they're liberal or anything like that. They didn't see those ideas as incompatible. It had to do with their interpretation of the genre of Genesis 1, what the function and purpose of Genesis 1 is. It's not meant to deny that Genesis 1 is history. It's not meant to deny that it's true or it's inerrant or it's inspired or anything like that. But it is a question of how do we understand it and what is the particular genre that is being written in Genesis 1. So that's the question. And those particular theologians believe that it was not a literal 6 24-hour days. Now, where Lutheranism is today in terms of confessional Lutheranism, the tendency is definitely toward a 6 24-hour creation. And that is largely because that's the Synodical Conference has kind of defined confessional Lutheranism in America today. And that's just the way it is. For better, for worse, that's just the way it is. So what happened, I think, because of that is any view other than that, a more literalist reading that this is meant to be 6 24-hour days, um, that anything other than that is seen as kind of a form of liberalism, especially because of the debates that happened around Seminex, and those who were denying a literal 6 day creation were coming to all sorts of pretty bad conclusions about scripture and other things. So it's kind of been the assumption because of that within the debates that have happened within Lutheranism, particularly within the Missouri Synod, that a denial of a literal 24-hour 6 day creation necessarily leads to a denial of biblical inerrancy and liberal views of scripture and all these other things, kind of the domino effect. And personally, I'm just not convinced that that's the case. I don't have a particularly strong stance on the issue. It's a debate that I don't want to dive into. I have no desire to dive into it. I'm not, hiding some kind of really strong stance that I have. It's not a debate that I really want to get into. And I think that the rhetoric involved in the debates is just far beyond anything that it needs to be. In a way that I just want to avoid the debate altogether, because if I was going to get involved, I'd have to be much more informed on the issue. I had to be very well read on the issue. I'd have to know biology a lot better than I do, and geology and all of the fields of science that need to go into these discussions. I'm not equipped. I don't want to do it. It's not an interest that I have in any way whatsoever. So my silence on the issue is me just stepping back from the debate and saying, look, there are other people that are more equipped on this issue, that want to debate the issue, that want to take strong stances. That's not me. I'm not concerned about it. It's not them. I don't think it's important. It is important, but I have to specialize in particular fields that I want to specialize in. And understanding the exact nature of the creation week is the last thing on my list of things I have interest in. So, I don't know, you'll call me a liberal or something for not having a particularly really strong stance on the issue. It's just not something that I have interest in. There are a lot of good resources if you want to look at different perspectives on the topic. There are lots of people that devote their lives to this particular topic. Go to those people. Don't listen to me. I could rattle on and on about opinions about all sorts of random things, but I want to stick to the things that I know well, instead of things where I know you can get better resources and better arguments from somebody else. Anyway, that's my 2 cents. I'm putting it out there. That's all I want to say about the issue. Stop asking me about it. All right, move on to the next question.